Participation in this process is really important. It is going to help us improve the way federal agencies safely and accurately collect and use information on the race and ethnicity of our diverse America. So please help us get it right. I want to thank everybody who's joined us today for the town hall, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts and perspectives. Here with me is Bob Savinsky, the chair, and Karen Battle, the co-chair of the Interagency Technical Working Group on the Race and Ethnicity Standards. They're going to give you some
Okay, folks, I'm going to say a few words, and then I'm going to take a little quick nap. I see that Black 666 is still in there lying. He's still got his room open lying. But I thought about something when I keep listening to these Pan-Africans. I constantly preach about abolishing the word white and black, but it just hit me like a ton of bricks. These Pan-Africans' little world would crash around them also. Because Black 666, they all cling to that word black with a death grip. The same way America has harmed Negroes and have convinced some persons to identify as Black American. I have put the links in the chat. I have added the links to the comment section, but it occurred to me that these Pan-Africans who are just been determined to identify as Black American, it will crumble their world. Because Black American and African American means nothing. The OMB recognizes every Jamaican. They are on that census report as recognized as a birthright, a identity, and an ethnicity. They even spelled their name out. Jamaicans. Haitians, they are recognized on the census report with their birthright, their identity, their ethnicity. And they are recognized as a national origin. And they're recognized as a nation. So it occurred to me, maybe that's why Black 666 is so fixated with this word called BLACK. The biggest psyop of these Pan-Africans is that they are telling you that they want to identify as Black American to force you to hang on to that word, because America recognizes them. Let me say that one more time. Every one of these Pan-Africans recognizes that America recognizes their identity, their birthright, their ethnicity. And they are bamboozling you folks is by keeping up this back and forth about clinging on to black. They are doing that. My common sense tells me it's a psyop, because each one of those persons know their paperwork. They can get on an airplane and fly back to their nation. They don't care about that word black. They got to convince you to hang on to that word black because they know it erases you. They know that America has been harming your behind for 54 years. So that is why it has been weighing on my brain for a couple months here. That's why they do it. And y'all fall for it. Because they have a birthright. And they can say out their mouth to you that they claim Black American. They will say out their mouth to you they claim Black American all day long. But they know what's on their paperwork. They know what blood is flowing through their veins. They know their mother and father true nationality And that's what really counts at the beginning of the day. At the end of the day, that's what they know counts. So when they put that phone down after going back and forth with you about that word Black American, they know it don't mean anything. They only know it means something to keep you upset, because it's clear. It is crystal clear now. America has made that very clear, that immigrants have priority over Black Americans and African Americans. Every immigrant in America walking around on two legs have priority. It's all in the wording. Y'all can go read the definition for yourself if you care to do so. I wonder if any of those persons in that Pan-Africa space have ever read that definition on the OMB. Something in my gut tells me they have. Some of them have read that definition, and they clearly know that America don't recognize Black Americans and African Americans as having a identity, a birthright, or a ethnicity. They know that every time they go back and forth with you persons. And that is why Black 666 love that word Black unity. Black don't mean nothing but a color of a crayon, a color of an object, a color of material. And they know it's not harming them. It's not harming immigrants to call themselves Black Americans. It's not harming them one iota bit. And they know that. They clearly have figured out that much about this system, this evil system. They got that figured out. But you persons have not figured that out yet. And they're going to keep right on going back and forth with you, because I can say it like a broken record. I can repeat it over and over like a broken record, but you adults are going to have to go read that definition and process it, because that definition is helping every immigrant that you've been calling a tether. Looks like America has made you a tether, and they are recognized as an ethnicity. America flipped that script on you folks. They put you in a individual origin of a Black racial group of Africa, but they took the time to spell out and acknowledge Jamaicans, Haitians, Ethiopians, and even the bottom of the barrel Somalis, while they gave you a general definition of Black racial group of Africa. They didn't even feel that you deserved enough respect to acknowledge your birthright, your identity, and your ethnicity. But they took the time to recognize every immigrant on that census report. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm lying. I have read it over and over, and I have dissected it and analyzed it and applied every brain cell that I have in my head. And America did a banged up job. America did a banged up job that started with a diabolical plan with the Civil Rights Act. That Civil Rights Act does not protect Black Americans. It does not protect African Americans. Y'all need to go read the fine print. Just like the old saying go, the devil is in the details. The devil is in the details. The devil is in the details. And the devil is in the details of that wording of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And everywhere that America has put the word Black American and African American, you can bet your bottom dollars that law, that 13th Amendment, 14th Amendment, 15th Amendment, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, none of it applies to Black Americans and African Americans. Y'all need to wrap that around your brain. because that is exactly what America has orchestrated. They sabotaged the ancestors when they signed that fake Civil Rights Bill of 1964. I would have never have caught it if LaFarmer Ari had not read that section when the Jewish folks had to get their hate crime bill passed. For the first time in my life, I really listened to the words of the Civil Rights Bill of 1964. Maybe for the first time in my life, I had really listened to the words. And I went back and read them. And it does not apply to Black Americans and African Americans. It applies to every immigrant by the wording. Because if my memory is correct, it mentions something like race, color, sex, religion, national origin, and I can't remember the last one, but the big kicker one is the national origin. Because the word race is there for decoration. It doesn't apply to Black Americans and African Americans, because you belong to a Black racial group of Africa. So you can X that word out, race. The next one is sex. That's just there for decoration. It's just there for decoration, because I don't see how, based on the definition on the OMB, that the term Black American and African American would fall into that word sex, because it's general. Color, COLOR, again, that does not apply to Black Americans and African Americans, because the OMB describe you as a Black racial group of Africa. Is not Pacific. It's just a general term. So we're down to the word national origin. Black American and African American don't have a national origin. They belong to a Black racial group of Africa. There's no such thing as a national origin for a Black racial group of Africa. Do anyone disagree? Do anyone disagree that that word national origin does not apply to the definition on the OMB? It does not apply. So that's where we at. That's where we at, folks. So if you folks care to crash the Pan-Africa and the immigrants' little world, you abolish that word Black American. Give it to them. Give them that word on a platter. Just hand it over and wrap it in a bow. Put it on a platter and wrap it on a bow, and see how fast they tune change. See how fast they tune change. I guarantee you their little tune is going to change, because Black American and African American don't give Black Americans any human rights, any self-respect, any protection, any access to resources. But it give every immigrant that. It's spelled out. It's spelled out. So if you folks want to crash the little perfect world of the immigrants that want to cosplay as Black Americans, because they just cosplaying, they know they got their paperwork. So you will be dealing out two blows at one time. You will be crushing the WHITE folks' world. You will be crumbling their world, WHITE, and you will also be crumbling the Pan-Africa world. You folks will be dealing two blows at one time, because I am not Black. I am not Black. I am a Negro, the same as my mother and my grandfather. And as I stated before, you abolishing Black American it will not mean that you have to give up Black pride, Black power, and Black culture. You will not be giving that up. God gave each of us that gift. No Pan-Africa, no Jamaican, no Haitian, no Bahamas, no Ethiopian, no Nigerian, no European person can claim those three things, because God didn't give them that gift. God gave each of us a special gift. And Black power can never be taken from me, but I'm a Negro first. Black power will never be taken from me, but I'm a Negro first. Black pride will never be taken from me, but I'm a Negro first. Black culture would never be taken from me, but I'm a Negro first. That's a part of my existence. It's a part of my whole fiber, but it don't supersede Negro and what the Negro ancestors carved out so that I would have an opportunity for a better life. I'm not sacrificing that for anything. Not for no Black pride, not for no Black power, and not for no Black culture. I'm not doing that. Not as long as I'm thinking clearly. Not as long as I'm thinking clearly. And now that I see the sabotage and bamboozle that America has pulled on all of us, you ain't gonna play me for no fool. You are not gonna play me for a fool, and I'm gonna go along with it. Not when I have figured it out, and I have figured this out. It's in the wording. I ain't got to lie about it. Every one of you can go read it for yourself. I ain't got to lie about it. America's not even trying to hide it. They're not trying to keep it a secret. They putting it in your face. And I guess they just hoping that you're not going to comprehend what you're reading with your two eyes. I don't know. But I know they're not trying to hide it no more now that they have removed Negro from that census report, because that's the only thing that gave us any rights in this country. Our ancestors tied us to this land with Negro. Those 246 years. That's what they did. That's what the ancestors did for each of us. They tied us to this landmass for 246 years. They carved it out. And America knew that. They wanted that blood off of their hands. They wanted to erase Negro and try to wash that blood off of their hands and to wash that history away, so that when their children turn 18 and 20, 18 years from now, 20 years from now, they're not going to have to hear about no Negro slavery. It's going to be like Negro slavery never happened. I'm not going to more than likely be alive, but I can almost guarantee you in about 18 or 20 years from now, America, if they are successful, it's going to be like Negro slavery never, never, never happened, because they will have been done rewrote it. And by the time they get done rewriting it, it's going to be German indentured servants in the place of that 246 years. It's going to be Italians indentured servants in the place of those 246 years. It's going to be Ireland indentured servants in the place of that 246 years. And it's not going to be Negro, not going to be anywhere in sight. It's not going to be anywhere in print by the time they get done. And you folks who just were so big and determined to self-identify, you playing your part. You are playing your part, and you need to understand that, because a people that will not fight for their history will not have a future. It's not an ethnicity on this earth. It's not one bloodline ethnicity on this earth that don't fight for their history. And you folks chose not to fight for your history. You chose to fight for Black American and African American and freedmen and ADOS and FBA. You turned your back on 246 years of Negro history. Each one of you who did it, you know who you are. Each one of you who did it, know who you are. And someday you're going to tell your children and grandkids a bald-faced lie that you did not play a part. But I'm 62 years old. It's not going to harm me. It's not going to harm me. I ain't got that much more time here. I don't have that much more time here. And plus I got Negro on my birth certificate. So America is not changing my ethnicity because they want to claim that it's offensive. They want to claim it's outdated. America is not going to change my ethnicity from my mother. They are not going to change that. Not one of you sorry human beings who want to identify as Black American or African American or Freeman or ADOS or FBA going to change my ethnicity because you prefer to self-identify. What is on my mother's paperwork is the same identity that I have because she was born before me. That's plain old biology. That's plain old biology. Whatever's on my mother's paperwork is the same thing that's on my paperwork. And you sorry human beings and the OMB and America and the whole world is not going to change that. Because you want to self-identify. You want to hold on to Black American and African American with a death grip. You folks are not going to change my paperwork. You folks are not going to change my paperwork. You're not going to change my mother's paperwork. You're not going to change my grandfather's paperwork. You're not going to change my grandmother's paperwork. You're not going to change my great-great-grandfather's paperwork. You're not going to change my great-great-grandmother's paperwork. So you have been bamboozled by America and the OMB and the whole world. They have made each of you a tether belonging to a Black racial group of Africa. I don't belong to no Black racial group of Africa. I don't know who they talking about, but I clearly know how I have enough comprehension to know they are not describing my identity. So you folks need to wake up day after day and make it clear to America that you want that definition change. Because the Pan-Africans, they are having a celebration. They are having a celebration because that definition does apply to them. It does. Ironically, the definition does apply to every Jamaican, every Nigerian, every Haitian, every Somalian. The definition that the OMB have on their website does apply to a Jamaican and every immigrant. It does not apply to Black Americans and African Americans because Black Americans and African Americans don't have a national origin because you folks didn't want to claim the Negro nation that L.B. Johnson spoke of before most of us was born. Before we were born, L.B. Johnson had already stated that our ancestors had already carved it out for 246 years. They had put it in Special Field Order 15. They had put it in the Civil Rights Act of 1866. They had went before the UN and declared Negro genocide. They had left a paper trail for you sorry human beings to claim, but you chose not to claim it. And now you belong to a Black racial group because you didn't care enough to want to protect and preserve Negro. But it angers me that these Pan-Africans are silently celebrating. Oh, they must be really celebrating when they got that good news from the OMB on the 28th of March, 2024. They must have went into a full-fledged celebration because they are recognized on that census report. They most certainly is. I ain't going to lie about it. I'm not going to lie to myself about it. I'm going to be truthful, and I'm not going to lie to myself. When I can read that definition and see with my own two eyes that America have the word African American there twice. We all know African American is a made up term. I mean, there's no discussion, no argument that they just invented a word called African American. They just invented it. It's not on any of my paperwork. It's not on. If the line narrative that you folks want to shape was true, they were using African American back before 1800. Well, if they were using it before 1800, it should have ended up on my birth certificate. It certainly should have ended up on my birth certificate. It certainly should have ended up on all those millions of birth certificates that have Negro on it. It's millions and millions of birth certificates that have Negro on it. It's millions and millions of marriage licenses that have Negro on it. So if they were using African American, they would have put it on some of those birth certificates. They would have put it on some of those marriage licenses. They would have put it on some of those death certificates. So you see how y'all lying narrative don't hold any weight? Because I mean, if it was true, it would have showed up. It would have showed up on some birth certificates. It would have showed up on some marriage license. It would have definitely showed up on some death certificates. It did not, because folks were not identifying as African American. America has went back and inserted that word. At some point, they went back and inserted that word, because if that word had been how my ancestors were identifying, it would have showed up on my paperwork. I only need to take common sense to know that. I only need to take common sense to know that if somebody in my family tree would have been identifying as African American, it would have been on their paperwork at some point. At some point along the way, it would have showed up on one of their paperwork, at least one. Out of all the paperwork that I have looked at, not one person in my family tree have the word African American on it. They weren't even using the word Black American back then. They weren't even using it. They were not even using it. They were using just a single word, Black. They was not even using the term Black American before 1965. They weren't using it. And y'all can try to shape that narrative until you're blue in the face. But I had an opportunity 2 days ago to hear two Caucasian persons give a first-hand accountability. They were born in 1954. After they heard me speak, they came off of their microphone and told me I was correct. I didn't expect it. It shocked me. It completely shocked me that here are two Caucasian persons giving me a first-hand account of how America propaganded the term Black American. They gave it to me. I didn't ask them. I wasn't expecting it. They just came off of their microphone and started talking. I had already come to that conclusion before they opened their mouth. I had already been saying this for months and months, and my common sense told me that, because it was all the proof all along the way. The 1866 Civil Rights Act, the Special Field Order 15, the ancestors carved out 246 years with sacrifice and achievements. They had an opportunity before signing Special Field Order 15 to tell President Lincoln and Sherman, we do not want to identify anymore by Negro. We prefer to identify as Black. No, we prefer to identify as color. No, we prefer to identify as mulatto. No, we prefer to identify as some made-up African American word. if they wanted to drop Negro, they had an opportunity to do it. And then by 1950, before the elders went before the UN, they put on that book, Negro Genocide. Why do you think they didn't put on that book, Black American Genocide, if they were going by Black American at that time? Don't you think they would have made a mistake, a big mistake like that, and went before the UN to declare genocide if they were really going by a term called Black American? It would have been on that book, because they wouldn't have wanted to make a mistake. They would not have wanted to make a mistake. If they were identifying as a Black American at that time, they would have put it on that book. They didn't do that because they still was going by Negro. And America hadn't started orchestrating their diabolical plan to remove Negro. But you can't tell you folks that. Y'all don't want to hear the truth. Y'all want to hold on to that Black American and African American with a death grip when the history and the facts are out there. Nobody got to lie. Nobody got to lie, because the facts are out there. But you persons are choosing not to look at it. And you want to believe what you want to believe. Well, you have holding on to that Black American and African American with a death grip. You have made yourself a tether. You have tethered yourself to a Black racial group of Africa. And now you are going to ensure that your children grow up and have to identify that way, and your grandkids. Because I do not see any of you making any effort to force the OMB and America and the Congress and the Senate and the President and the Vice President to change that definition. You folks have not woke up one day after the 28th of March, 2024, making any statement to the OMB in America that you want that definition changed. So you must be happy with it. You folks must be happy with it, because you certainly ain't sending no message. You're not opening no Twitter space. You're not doing no YouTube broadcast. You're not doing no TikTok broadcast. You're not doing no Facebook broadcast. You're not doing no Instagram broadcast. You're not doing no Facebook broadcast. You're not saying nothing. So you must be telling America and the OMB that you okay with that definition. You okay that they have been harming all Negroes. So if some of you folks are not Negroes, this conversation is not for you. This conversation is not for you. But every Negro descendant has been harmed from the very day that America started lumping them under a term called Black American and African American. And Talent, New Negro Republic, shared that information with those of us in the Negro space. That man took time off of his life to research and connect the dots for all of us, but y'all rejected it. Y'all rejected it for a definition for a Black racial group of Africa. All of you rejected it just so that you could claim a Black racial group of Africa. Make it make sense. Make it make sense to abandon your ancestors' sacrifice as Negroes. You chose a definition, Black racial group of Africa. Make it make sense. Please, with somebody, make it make sense, because it's not adding up. There's a disconnect there. You cannot claim that you are honoring your ancestors when you are choosing a definition of an individual with an origin belonging to a Black racial group of Africa. Who is that? Can anyone answer that question? For all you persons who just been determined to identify as Black American and African American, can anyone get on an airplane and fly to Africa and try to find that Black racial group? Is anyone going to do that anytime soon? Is anyone going to get on an airplane and fly to Africa and try to find that Black racial group? Because you need a national origin. You need a national origin to be recognized for your birthright, your identity, your ethnicity. You need a national origin. Every human being on this earth has a original bloodline of a national origin. Every walking human being on this earth have a original bloodline and a national origin. Can anyone find that for the Black Americans and the African Americans? Will anyone go to Africa and try to find that Black racial group of Africa? Because my paperwork says Negro, and I'm claiming Negro land. That's just the bottom line. That's just the bottom line. And it's already been exposed that Negro is a real bloodline. A pastor before he died exposed it. And I'm just absolutely sure that Pastor Darby was not the only human being that walked this earth that know that. I just have to believe that God did not create just one single human being that know that information. And he exposed it. He done his research and he exposed it. Yes, Lord, it's a real blood test out there that determines you a Negro bloodline. So y'all folks been laughing and making a joke of Negro, and it's going to turn out that Negro really is a bloodline. It really is a bloodline, and the white man didn't come up with it. It was God. See how that works? See how y'all sound like a fool now? Y'all think God made that Negro land and did not make human beings bloodline with Negro? Y'all don't believe that. Y'all don't believe that lie. It's no way possible to convince you persons that there's a Negro land on a map, but there's no human beings walking the earth. That original bloodline. I know y'all can't twist that into a lie. You can't twist that into a lie, can you? See how things work? See how things work? You see how things work? All you persons had a good old time making a joke of Negro. Oh, it means dead. It means this in Portuguese. It means that in Spanish. It's a badge of slavery. Looks like the Negro is going to have the last laugh, don't it? It kind of looks like the Negro is going to have the last laugh. For all you persons who felt too good to say Negro out your mouth, for all you folks who felt too good to say Negro out your mouth, to put it on your profile, to put it on your timeline, your social media timeline, for all you persons who prefer to self-identify, now you're going to have to figure out how to get that definition changed on the OMB. Because I got my paperwork. I came into the world a Negro, and I'm going to lead the world a Negro. Biology works that way. See how that go? That's how biology works. Not by these made-up little laws and legislation that these diabolical human beings come up with. Biology only works one way. If I were birthed into the world as a Negro, then I'm going to die as a Negro. It don't change up 10 years later, 20 years later, 30 years later, 40 years later, 50 years later. It don't change up. It don't work that way. It don't work that way. So I just thought I'd jump back on here and explain to you folks how you can crash the little perfect world of these immigrants and Pan-Africans and these folks who go by white. you'll be killing two birds at one time. I have already abolished white. I have already abolished black. I have already abolished white supremacy. And now I'm clearly understanding why these Pan-Africans are clinging to that word black. Because they know it's harming your behind and my behind. They know that. They know they're getting resources and priority over your behind and my behind every single day. And it finally dawned on me why they keep cosplaying. Because they know good and darn well when they hang up that phone, when they sitting around a table, they going by their blood that's flowing through their body. And it's not black. They know that. But they'll never tell you that. They'll never tell me that. They just having fun with you folks. They just having fun playing this little game with you persons. Because they know black is not harming them. They know Black American and African American is not harming them. They got their paperwork. They know exactly what blood is flowing through their body. They know that as sure as they nose on their face. They playing a game with you persons. They know that as clear as day. And I just thought I'll just jump on here and share my little thoughts, because they need their little world crashed. And that's why Black 666 can't stand me, because I have pretty much broken it down like this for them the few times that I went in their space. That's why those Pan-Africans can't stand me, because they know I don't sugarcoat it. I know how to do critical thinking. And when I have an exchange with you, I'm going to make sure I break it down in the simplest terms for you. And I have come to the conclusion, and they know I have figured that out. And that bothers them, because they want to keep up this little charade. They want to keep this charade going. And they just so mad that I didn't swallow it. That's why they mad at me, amongst other reasons. But I think that's the main one. They got really upset when I kept making a point to point out to them, how do you folks have the audacity to shape a narrative that Negroes and Black Americans want to have a lineage? They deserve a lineage the same way you stick your chest out and say Jamaican and Haitian and Bahamas. Why do you think you should have the right to stick your chest out, but you want Negroes and Black Americans to be flattened into a word called black? It's self-serving. It's self-serving. That's why you do it. It's no other reason. That's why you get on a public app and shape a narrative. Oh, they doing all this separation, all for reparation, when you know good and darn well that's not the reason. But it makes you feel good to tell yourself that. It gives you a good conversation day after day. But you person just simply want the Negro bloodline and that label that America put on Black Americans to stay there, so that you can keep on getting priority. So you can keep on being recognized for your birthright and your identity and your ethnicity. And you will continue to get priority over Negroes and Black Americans and African Americans. See, I'm not slow and dumb. One thing, I don't have all that book sense like most person, but I'm a very, very critical thinker. God gave me a lot of common sense. He gave me abundance of common sense. And I know how to apply critical thinking. And that is why Pan-Africans are never gonna, they just detest my guts. Because I simply ask each one of them to take out a piece of paper and write on that piece of paper that they denounce their ethnicity. They denounce their national origin. They denounce their nation. And they're no longer going to go by their nation Jamaican. They're no longer going to go by their nation, their national origin Jamaican. They're never going to go by their national origin Haitian. They're never going to go by their national origin Bahamas. They're going to write it on that piece of paper and denounce it and take it to a notary and get it stamped. And when they do that, then they can come back and talk about this black flatness. They're not going to do that. Then they can decide to come back and talk about this fake Pan-African unity. When they take that piece of paper out and write on there that they are denouncing their ethnicity and their national origin and take it to a notary, then I may start trying to believe the lying words come out of their mouth. See, they didn't have no comeback for that one. They didn't have no comeback for that one. They couldn't reshape that into a lying narrative because they're not going to give up. They're not going to give up their ethnicity. They're not going to give up their national origin. They're not going to give up their nation. But they're going to keep on wasting time off of your life fighting over a word called Black American because it means nothing. They're going to waste time off of your life fighting over a word called African American because it means nothing to them. They know it means nothing to America. And they're going to keep you occupied fighting back and forth over two words that don't give you any human rights, any self-respect, any protection, and any access to resources. They're going to keep you busy while they get to hang their phone up and pull out their paperwork. So y'all think about that. Y'all think about that. It's up to you folks because, like I said, my paperwork says Negro. I'm not a Black American and I'm not an African American. And I certainly ain't no black racial group. So it just upsets me and pains me that my people are being taken advantage like this. Otherwise, I wouldn't waste the time to even say anything about it. But I clearly recognize that we all have been bamboozled and sabotaged and psyop every second of the day. We have all of these nations coming at Negro. It's spelled out in the Bible that all of these nations would come, would attack the Negro nation. And that's exactly, I read that back in 2014. Before I even heard of a app called social media. That's how real it is. I read that information back in 2014. And when I read it, it didn't make sense to me. It did not make sense to me. But now I have bear witness to that exact thing. Every one of these nations, German, Italian, Ireland, Jews, Jamaicans, Haitians, Bahamas, Ethiopians, Nigerians, Asians, Latinos, Mexican, all of these nations are attacking the Negro nation in a different way, but they are doing it. They all using different tactics, but they all are doing it. And it's exactly like it was spelled out in that Bible. Lo and behold, I never would have thought I would have bear witness to that. When I was reading that back in 2014, you could have never made me believe that I was going to bear witness to that fact. I never would have believed it if I did not witness it with my own two eyes and my own two ears. That's exactly what's happening. That's why Black 666 is so fixated on the word black. He is from Africa. I never knew that Black 666 was an immigrant from Africa. I never knew that. when I first entered his space on Twitter land. I had the utmost respect for that man, and I'm still going to respect him in spite of him disrespecting me. I'm just not going to give him an opportunity to disrespect me ever again. Now, he can come in my space and tell me why he lied on me today. He need to come in my space and tell me why he lied on me. If he have enough backbone to do it, if he man enough, he'll come in my space and tell me why he lied on me when he said he called out 3 names: La Farmer, Talent, and Mines. And I don't know who he was attaching the bald-faced lie out of his mouth. Only part of the name that I caught was somebody named Jason, and the person by the name of Noble Negro. Now, I recently recognized that name on Twitterland just in the past month or 2, but I don't know that man from a can of paint. I have not had a conversation with him. I only recognize his name because I've seen it on a stage with Mark King Carter and Damon Jones, aka Clarence Thomas, Chicago Red, Derek Gibson. I don't run in their circle. I do not run in those persons' circle. I do not rub elbows with them. I do not associate with them. So Black 666 should have got his lie straight before he got on a public app and embarrassed himself. I do not associate with those persons. I did not associate with Mark King Carter on Clubhouse in 2022. So it will behoove Black 666 to gather his facts before he make a fool of himself on a public app, because I do not associate with any of those persons whatsoever. So I think he didn't put enough thought in his bald-faced lie before he said it out of his mouth last night. Early this morning I think it was around 6 a.m. or 7 a.m. because I've been up since 4 a.m. I'm getting ready to go to sleep. I just lucked up and went into his space on my burner account. I went in on my burner account as an anonymous listener. I don't know if he figured out my burner account handler name. I think he's trying to figure it out. But I don't think he has quite figured it out yet, because he would have already done booted me, or he would have closed down his space like he did before when I used to go in on my regular Twitter account, and I would go in anonymous and he still would close his room down like other folks do. Other folks do it too. That's why I made up another one, and I'll make up another one and another one if I feel like it. If I feel like doing it, which I already have several other ones that I had already set up because I was an entrepreneur and I wanted to have different Twitter accounts. So I already have them set up, but I don't think I'm going to use any of those. I think I'm going to invent a new one. Because you folks y'all just shut y'all spaces down when y'all recognize that I'm listening. I have made note of it. It's not escaping me. I clearly am a very observant person, and I can count 5 to 10 minutes. Once you spot me, that room suddenly closes down. The folks the other day, he was talking about that American Indian. I even made it to the stage, and then either the host or the co-host spotted me. Bam, that room closed quicker than I could blink my eye. Bam, it closed down quicker than I could blink my eye. The other co-host was right in the midstream of talking. The poll co-host was right in the middle of talking. But of course they're going to claim it as a glitch. They're going to claim it as technical glitch, but I know the pattern. I've been observing it for at least past 2 or 3 months. For the past 2 or 3 months, I've been making sure I paid close attention and observing the pattern. So you can try to brush it off on a glitch, a technical glitch, but I know better. Especially since I worked in telecommunication as my military career. So I'm a little bit familiar with glitches and stuff like that, because we constantly had to do that with telecommunication. We had to change our equipment over every month, and it would just go offline for a quick second and come back on. Y'all folks need to do y'all research. Y'all folks just need to do your darn research so you won't make a fool of yourself. You just need to do your darn research so you won't get on a public app and embarrass yourself and make a fool of yourself. So, yeah, that's about it, folks. I'm going to sleep now. I'm going to try to go to sleep so I can get back up and get some work done on my business stuff. But I almost missed Blk 666 tell that lie on me. I was just getting ready to go to sleep. Luckily, I had stalled. I had drugged my feet. I said, well, maybe I'll stay up for another 10 or 20 minutes. And lo and behold, if I had closed my eyes when I first told myself to do it, I would have never